Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is an instructional video to help you with latitude, longitude, absolute location. As you see here, these are the two main components we deal with. On the left side, these are lines of latitude. They run from east to west. The equator is the line of latitude at 0 degrees, and these lines run from left to right. They're horizontal, but they measure how far north and south a point on the globe is from the equator. On the right, so I guess one good way to remember latitude is latitude, flatitude, like the rungs on a ladder which you climb up. Those are all good ways to remember that. You see longitude lines here on the right. They run from north to south. They wrap around the globe and determine how far east or west a particular point is from the prime meridian. The prime meridian is the line of longitude at 0 degrees. So putting these together, when we want to find the absolute location of a point, let's start with G. First question we always ask ourselves is point G north or south of the equator? Point G is north. So we put our finger on the equator and we go north until we touch a line of latitude that runs through G. That line of latitude, so this line runs from east to west, is 40 degrees north. G is 40 degrees north of the equator. The next thing we need to do when finding the absolute location is find the line of longitude that runs through G. So we put our finger on the prime meridian, which I've drawn over here. We must ask ourselves, is G east or west of the prime meridian? G is west, so I put my finger or my mouse on the prime meridian and I go west until I touch a line of longitude that runs through G. So I go west, then I stop when I touch a line that runs through G. The line of longitude that runs through G is 100 degrees west. So the absolute location of G is 40 degrees north, 100 degrees west. G is at the point where those two lines intersect. Let's try another one. So let's look at A. Okay? So is A, again the first question we always ask ourselves, is A north or south of the equator? A is south of the equator. So next we ask ourselves, how far south of the equator is A? So I put my mouse on the equator and I go south until I touch a line that runs through A. It's like I stop here. This line is 20 degrees south. So that's your first coordinate. Next I need to determine if A is east or west of the prime meridian. So I put my finger on the prime meridian and I go east until I touch a line of longitude that A runs through. So I go east to about here. Let's see, is this what A runs through? Looks like it. Okay. So based off of this line of longitude, A is 120 degrees east of the prime meridian. So the absolute location of A is, 20 degrees south, 120 degrees east. Let's do another one. Next point we will look at is point D. Okay, so point D is south of the equator. We look at the equator. We ask ourselves, is it north or south? We've determined that D is below or south of the equator. So with our finger or our mouse clicker on the equator, we go south until we touch a line of latitude that runs through D. So we go until we hit a line of latitude. We stop here. D is about 60 degrees south of the equator. 60 degrees south is our first point, 60 degrees for the absolute location of D. Next, we put our finger or our mouse on the prime meridian and we ask ourselves, is D east or west of the prime meridian? D is west of the prime meridian. So we move west until we touch a line of longitude that runs through D. And that line happens to be 40 degrees longitude. So the absolute location for point D is 60 degrees south, 40 degrees west. At this time, please pause this video and do the absolute location of E by yourself. When finding the absolute location of E, the first question we ask ourselves is E north or south of the equator? E is north of the equator. We put our finger on the equator and we go north until we touch a line of latitude that runs through E. So we stop here. E is 40 degrees north of the equator. In order to find the full absolute location, we must ask ourselves, is E east or west of the prime meridian? We put our finger on the prime meridian and it appears to be east. We move east until we touch a line of longitude that runs through E. That line is 60 degrees east, so E is 60 degrees east of the prime meridian. The absolute location of point E is 40 degrees north, 60 degrees east. One way to check your answers, and I've divided this map into 4 quadrants like you would in math class. If we look at point F, for example, F is in the southeast part of this map. Because F is in the southeast part, and we would never say it was in the east-south part, that kind of sounds silly, we know that our first coordinate for F is going to be something degrees south. We know our second coordinate for F is going to be something degrees east. That is a great way to check these answers and make sure that we're writing them correctly. Same thing with J here. We see that J is in the southwest quadrant of this map. So we know that our first coordinate for J will be south. Our second coordinate for J will be west. J happens to be about 10 degrees south and 40 degrees west as an absolute location. I hope this video has helped. If you have any other questions about this and you're using it to study, please feel free to ask me. Again, thank you for watching this video and helping study absolute location, latitude, and longitude, and you're going to do great on your quiz or test, I promise. Thanks.